Time to figure out what's on this thing.
Inscription. One of the most incredible games I've ever played. I sadly did not go into this game fully blind, but mostly yes. I like to sleep to Markiplier videos because his voice is nice, and I find horror very cozy, so it's very easy to fall asleep to both of those together. And Inscription wasn't something I was really that interested in. I didn't really care for the game, it wasn't really my style. I was like, I know it's probably a more cozy game, so why not? I slept to Markiplier playing those games a lot, and I didn't glean anything from it. The only thing that I found out through that was, at some point, waking up, I would find that there's videos being played, live action videos. That doesn't make sense. I don't have context for that. Weird. Anyways, and there's also multiple boards. Cool. Okay. But I didn't have any context for anything I was seeing. I just found out there's multiple stages to this, so okay, nothing too bizarre there. It was interesting seeing it go from like this woodland area to tech holograms, but whatever. And I don't remember what eventually got me to play it, but I did. And fuck, it was so good, but it was so shit because I was shit. I could not play the fucking game. I didn't get it. There were things that I wasn't understanding, and I made a huge mistake that I did not know would be as important as it is in this game. I turned up the dialogue speed. Turns out, bad move. The dialogue is incredibly important in this game. I didn't realize that. So I missed a lot of important stuff that they had to tell me. So I played through. I knew this was a roguelike card game. I had conflictions with that because it didn't seem very roguelike. If I lose, I restart. Roguelikes, if you lose a dungeon, you'll start at the beginning of that dungeon, yes, but you won't have lost anything. There are 3 stages of the first act. If you lose on any of them, you start right at the beginning again, and you lose everything. So I was very frustrated because I was losing a lot. I did eventually get to the 3rd area, but I never made it to the 3rd boss. And I never saw the too fast, too soon message for whatever it says. Eventually, sadly, I gave up. I loved the gameplay loop. It was very fun, but there was something I just wasn't getting. Now, here's the biggest mistake I made. I got the knife, eventually. Good job. That means I found the cage wolf, and I broke it free. I never used the fucking knife. I never used the damn knife. What the fuck? Dude, did I even read the fucking description on it? I mean, it's the most OP thing you can do. Like, why didn't I use the knife? What was I doing? It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I gave up. And there was this video on YouTube I kept seeing recommended to me by, I think his name was Beam Buddy. Very great channel. Go check him out. I had seen this video in passing, but I saw a very lengthy timestamp, and I do love that. And I especially love that in video essays. But I know if I'm going to watch something like that and it be that long, it needs my full undivided attention. And I'm always working or editing or streaming or drawing. I don't have time to give that my full undivided attention. One day, when I put everything else off, I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? Let's relax. I put on Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, of course, because it's the best one, and then I loaded the video. Eventually, I found myself so enraptured by this video, I stopped playing the game and just watched the video until he got to the point where I had reached. And I was very invested at this point, and I needed to know, what didn't I do? And he showed me very quickly. I needed to use that goddamn knife. And that is the only thing I didn't do. Fuck. So I immediately stopped the video. I installed the game again. And that day, I had no plans to go live. I went live and I played Inscription. Beat the first act in one setting. I think it was like 5 hours. It was very successful. I was very happy. This time around, I understood the basics of the game. I understood the loop. I knew what to do. I knew what I was missing. So I picked it up really quickly. And I managed to get very far, very fast. So much more than I was supposed to. And I even managed to get to, I think the second boss is as far as it lets you get on your first go-around. However far it lets you get on your first go-around, that's how far I made it, until I had gone too far too soon, whatever, and then reset. Second go-around, it starts to pick up. You start being able to get more of the character cards, more puzzles solved, more items. Things become a little bit more open. But there's still the system that I didn't even know about my first time. I didn't even know about going through my second time until I had to look it up because I didn't understand why I was not seeing certain things. You cannot beat this game until your third go-around. And once again, I made it as far as I could on this turn before it cut me off because I did too good. So third time round, this is where everything can go down. I get the knife, I get the stunted wolf. All I gotta do is get the eye, and then everything opens up. And then I died. But fourth time, I think I actually made it to the boss, the final boss fight on my fourth go-around. I can't tell you how much of a difference it makes when you listen to what the cards say, especially when you have the stunted wolf and they all sort of put their plans all together and it tells you what you're supposed to do and how we're going to get there. And the knife. Oh, the knife is so good. Who would have thought the knife would be so good? Saving it just for the boss fights that you're like, it's going to be a little cheeky, so might as well save this until you need it, and then obliterate them. Works phenomenally. And also getting the eye, so you can solve the clock, so you can get the stunted wolf, get the film roll, and do some other secrets. Oh, also getting the jar of goo. I didn't know what this was at first. I feel like I'd recognized it because I'd played the game before. I'd gone through the rounds a lot, not making really any progress, so I died enough times to eventually be able to see the goo. This time I actually got him, and I was unsure about it at first, so I consulted chat. They convinced me, and I used it. Leshy does not let you use him, though, and he gets a little perturbed at you trying to use him, so he goes and puts him on a shelf. You can go talk to him. He's an eccentric little guy going on about the master, and he'll congratulate you for every boss you complete. It's quite fun interacting with him, but he tells you the master's near and notices you have the film roll. So he kind of hints at things to get you moving forwards a little bit. So once you have everything figured out, all you got to do is beat it. You have to beat the 3 bosses, and then you have to beat Leshy himself, which is a very intimidating fight. It's very, very cool leading up to it, though, because once you reach that final stage of the map, it transports you to the outside of the cabin that you're in this whole time, and you get to slowly walk towards it as you come across the characters in Leshy's game, and his giant hand comes down, so you become the piece on the board for a minute. It's very cool, and you get your boons that gives you upgrades. If you're lucky enough, you'll at least get 1. I think my first time I got like 3 of them. I got really lucky on my first time. This time around, I think I only got 1, but it's not too big of a deal. You fight Leshy, and he takes you through all the people he's had you fight already. The prospector, the angler, the trapper. But his final phase, the moon. Yeah, you fight the moon. He just turns around, takes a picture of the moon, and it's gone, and it's now in his hand. You fight the moon. There's some cards that you would be like, well, I wonder what would happen if you used this against the moon. Most of them don't really work. Like if you use an adder against the moon, it's not going to kill it in one hit. But your most important thing you can do is keep your stink bug alive, or at least have that ability on another card, because the moon can only do 1 damage, but it does it in 4 different spots. So if you have the stink bug's ability, he can't do shit, and you kick his ass. It is always nicer when you have like really strong cards, and it makes it a very satisfying ending to him. But if you have the stink bug, it doesn't matter what your cards do, as long as you can do damage, because he won't be able to from then on. And it's just a straight shot to the end. And here's where I had no idea what would happen next. I thought next would just be another stage. Like I had seen before, there was another like hologram map instead of the forest. This was the biggest surprise ever. Not the footage in between. I knew that we would get to the footage eventually, the live action stuff, but I was never expecting this to turn into a 2D pixel game. Kind of like Pokemon-esque feel a little bit, but not really. It's like a mix. It's like you move around the map like a Mario game, and then when you're in an area, you move around like Pokemon and you encounter characters and you fight them with your cards. This was mind-blowing to me. This is the section of the game I had actually not seen anything about, not even once. I had no clue about this. This was also a super easy section of the game, because I mean, all you have to do is go around and collect all the cards from everywhere, and then just build your deck. If you're methodical about it, you'll make an incredibly overpowered deck in just a few minutes. You just have to beat 1 or 2 bosses, and then you can explore the whole map. So this is where you get to meet all the characters from your cards as what they used to actually be. The Master from the Stunted Wolf, Grimora from the Stink Bug card, and the Stoat is PO3. PO3 is kind of a dick after you take him out of the card. Like, I mean, he was already, like, but at least he was on your side before. This time he doesn't even acknowledge you as somebody that he knew before. So you fight all the bosses, you do all this, and then you have to replace one of the scribes that we learn about. But Mr. PO3 over here, or like POS, he has a little bit of a dictatorship. He comes in, interferes, takes over. No matter who you pick to replace, he will show up. You can just cut a corner and pick him, make it quicker. He'll even mention that if you do. And then he takes over and does basically the same thing Leshy does, but in his own unique way. And as you're going through this, you can actually see the item that he takes to make this all happen. His final little piece to make his world be the main domain. When you're fighting all of his bots, there's one that stops right at the beginning, and he dredges something up, and it's like this little cube that is glitching out. That's the same piece he uses during our fight. Now we're in his domain, and this section isn't, it's not terrible. I just don't like it as much. It's just a personal preference. There's good and bad about this section. Good is it brings back the same style of gameplay as the first act, and it also introduces more roguelike elements. This is the part of the game that is actually the most roguelike. You have sections, you have checkpoints. If you reach a checkpoint, obviously you don't lose any progress when you die from before then, but if you die before a checkpoint, you restart to the beginning of that. No consequences at all. You just have to regain all your progress. Even if you've unlocked a path, it still stays. You don't lose that if you die after unlocking a path. Don't lose items you buy or find. Don't lose any cards. There's 0 consequences. You just keep going until you're better at it. You go until you've become strong enough to win. Here's the part that I don't like. Your turns are based off energy. This mechanic is a little frustrating, but it works out. It causes you to be far more methodical about every move you make versus how the first act was. Not that you weren't supposed to be methodical then, but it is a lot more demanding now. One wrong move and you're completely fucked. You're not getting that energy back. There's nothing you can do to change what you've done. And the enemies don't go by the same rules. You can get completely fucked over because they'll have way stronger cards than you, and you can't even get a card out at that level yet because you don't have enough energy. That's why I hate this section. It's infuriating. But it does let you keep the hammer from Act 2, which can come in handy on multiple occasions. Just like in Act 1, there are boards where there could be rocks or trees or whatever on the board in place of where you would put your cards. Since you have a hammer, the ones on your side you can break. You don't necessarily want to every time though, because they can be blocking damage from the enemy, and that's very helpful to you. But where that comes in handy the most is every time you're on a bridge, there's a fight. And on the bridge, both ends of the board are railed off. This closes in how much space the enemy has to place cards, giving you an advantage depending on what cards you choose to put on those railings if you break them. Because if you just add one that's going to do damage to the railing, then you're just screwing yourself over. But if you do one like a sniper card or a card that you don't want to take any damage, it's just sitting there to give you more energy, it gives you a major advantage. So having the hammer is a really great addition to this section. It allows you to be a lot more strategic. It also means you can sacrifice any of your cards whenever you want if you need. Like if you have a bomb card, suicide it, easy win. So for this section, we start off locked up to the table. We can't move around or anything. Eventually the power to the board goes out and PO3 has us get up and go fetch a fresh battery. For now, we're pretty restricted on where we can go, but this is bigger than the cabin because we have 4 rooms to go through. Right now we can only go through where we are and the next room over. After solving a simple puzzle, go grab the battery, and then in that room, there's a crate with the angler in a card. This is one of our speaking cards. How many there are in the section, I could have sworn there were more, but I only know of 2. There's this guy, and then there's the funny magic lonely wizard. The bosses for this act are some of my favorite. They're very cool. Each one you fight introduces a new mechanic to the game, and they don't describe them all that well. Like, they'll only tell you what they can do. They don't tell you if this benefits you or the enemy. So you're very cautious about everything you can now do on these boss fights. So you may entirely screw yourself over because you think if you use it, it will be bad for you. So you may use it incorrectly and just get your ass pummeled. But pretty much every mechanic it introduces for the boss fights, they're all to benefit you. And I don't know why, because it gives you quite an unfair advantage. But maybe it's just a psychological game. Mess with you. Make you feel like you're not in control by giving you things that should put you in control. Just to mess with you. I don't know. The first one's my favorite though, because it is absolute BM. It gives you a camera. It allows you to capture the state of the board, like every other turn or something, meaning if you have good cards on the board and maybe the enemy has none or just not that many or not very good ones, if you have a picture captured from that moment, you can reset the board back to that moment. So if they've just put on a bunch of cards that are going to fuck you up, you can just reset the board to where you were. And this doesn't decrease how many points of damage you have done to them. So this is entirely to your advantage. Another one, though, is very scary. This is the scariest moment in the game. If you are a content creator. It does have something for non-content creators too, but it is mostly this. It wants access to your files. Your actual computer files. Now, the first time I got here was on stream. So as soon as I realized what was about to happen, I was kind of freaking out already. I didn't know how much this was going to dox. I didn't know if it was going to dox me at all. It did show a bunch of files that are actually on my computer. But as far as I could tell, when I played it again offline, because I did not show any of that on stream, absolutely not. Are you kidding? I was not risking that. As far as I could tell, I went through every single file. Nothing seemed to be doxing. So it probably just has a select amount of stuff that would be programmed onto a general computer that people may have. Some things, like maybe even just game files, like Minecraft. Minecraft was on there. Nothing important, nothing made by you, only pre-existing computer programs. Now, this is supposed to do damage based off the size of the file, but I think that's bullshit because I'm pretty sure I've picked some big files out of there and it just didn't work. So the first scary bit is the possibility of being doxxed. Now, of course, it does not actually share any of your real personal information, but being on a stream for the first time playing that was terrifying because you don't know. The other bit is about halfway through the fight. It tells you to choose a file again, but this time it's to make a card out of it. Why is that scary? Because it tells you to pick a good file, a precious file. You probably won't because that would be stupid, but any of these files you probably don't want deleted, otherwise you probably would have already. The problem is, it creates a card with this file, and if that card dies, it deletes the file. Can it actually do that? I don't fucking know. I mean, it's not unheard of for indie horror games to actually have some sort of control over your computer. I mean, KinetoPet will actually take your files and it will take your address. Like, it has access to stuff. It can do things. Some games delete themselves off of your computer when you beat them. So it wasn't outside the realm of possibility. Luckily, it doesn't actually. Now, I didn't test it. Fuck no. I'm so paranoid about that shit. I spent like 20 minutes researching this just to get a straight answer, which I couldn't really find a straight answer, but the consensus is it's a gimmick. It doesn't actually do anything. But that part is genuinely scary. Now, of course, you could just not play the card. That fixes everything. Just don't play the card. But where's the fun in that? There's no risk. Come on. Plus, it might be the only card you have that could beat it. Probably not, but you could be screwed. Who knows? Could be your last hope. There is one other boss that I genuinely don't remember what it does, and look, I'm recording this before going to church. I don't want to take the time to go through my files, find the video, and see what the last boss was. I don't know. So we're just going to fucking forget about it. Let's move on. The last boss you fight, the last mini boss you fight, is Miss Dolly.exe. Double check that because I don't know if that's true. She's a fun one. She gets access to the internet. And this part's fun because it actually depends on your current connection to the internet. Mine's pretty shit, so it was spotty. But it'll take pictures from the internet, and I'm sure it's not just randomly grabbed at the time. They probably have a database in the game with images and random cards that it can add, like the mummy. Or even taking a normal card that you might recognize and just putting an actual animal picture on it. Now, for the second phase, she has you make a card to give to another person. My first time getting to this point, I thought it was just going to give you that card anyways, because when I did it, I made a shit card because I was impatient and just wanted to get it over with. And she was like, well, I hope you weren't trying to troll somebody on the internet. And then she gave it to you. But turns out this actually genuinely just depends on your internet connection. Because regardless of how good you make the card, it tries to send it to a random person on the internet. And if they beat the second phase with your card, you win. You don't have to do the second phase. This time I sat there for a very, very long time. It was actually really annoying. I would have rather just fought the second phase at that point, which I did have to do anyways because they lost, or it lost connection. So that was fun. And before we move on to the next bit, throughout this section, the rest of the rooms open up. There's a puzzle you're trying to solve the entire time. One of them is from the card maker machine that you see in the corner of the room. One of them is in the cuckoo clock that appears from the cabin. It leaks into this world, and if you use the timestamp you get when you're approaching the last fight in Act 1, then it gives you another piece of the puzzle. And then after you defeat the camera boss, it allows you to go into the next room and spin it around until you figure out where the fuck to flash it. It's very annoying, but eventually you get it and you have all the puzzle pieces. The next room over, there's another one of those little columns from Act 2 in the Mage Tower. Solving this transports you inside of it like it had done before, but this time you're in first person. So you get to see it in all its glory. It's actually pretty cool. You're in a pile of goo. Guess who's there? Goo Boy. Our friend Jar of Goo. He made a painting and he's really proud of it, but he doesn't think you'll like it. And I think that if you look at it enough between the dialogue, then he'll probably think you like it. But I didn't do that, so now he thinks I hate it. So I think he hates me. And yes, this carries over when you go back outside. He still thinks you hate it. On the opposite end, you can find the trader, in which all the pelts you found on the board, you can trade in for lore, basically. This tells about Casey and her team and how they made the game. It's actually really cool, but we'll get into that another time. Okay, so after you beat the 4 Uber bots, which I don't know if I've talked about this yet. That's a really fucking dumb name. I'm sorry. Uber bots? Uber? The driving company? After you beat the 4 of them, you have to make your way back to PO3. I've been calling him PO3 this whole time. Is it Poe? Doesn't matter. You make your way back to him, and he's kind of reminiscing about the whole experience you've had together, this whole long journey, and it's... I wouldn't really call it sweet. Bittersweet is more the word for it, but that still suggests it's sweet. It's sweet to him, but it's like, it's just weird shit. It's weird shit. He's been using you this whole time to get what he wants. Now, he's getting the Great Transcendence, which is not just having his domain be the main thing, like how Leshy had. It's he now has access to the internet. He's going to spread and basically wants to be in control of everything. But luckily, the other scribes have their way of doing things, and they rip his fucking head off. Yep, I don't know what I expected them to do, but it wasn't that. After that, what is supposed to happen, the whole plan that they had was they're going to basically just reverse everything that PO3 did. But Grimora has other plans that she has not told anybody. And she finds a fun little bunch of files, inscription.exe, and she deletes them. Technically, Act 3 is the last part of the game, but technically, this is Act 4. It is not an official act, but it's pretty much its own act in itself. It's a lot shorter, but still. So Grimora deletes it, and now basically everything from here is a race against time. Not that you're racing to do anything. All you can do is sit and wait as everything around you is being deleted one by one. And we wake up in this like graveyard-ish thing, and we have to put these headstones in, which is basically deleting each of these things. It deletes us. I'm assuming we put our name in there as a way to delete us from the game's files, not actually deleting ourselves. We delete inscription and one other thing that I don't remember right now, but you see it. And then you can go and face Grimora and get a feel of what it would have been like if she was in control at some point, which was honestly a really cool system. And I think this section is a way of the devs putting together everything that they had ideas for, but didn't really have room to make it fit into the story. So we get to see all the other characters' ways of doing things. I think it's really neat. And hers is pretty cool. But before you get to the peak of it, like right as you get there, it deletes. But you get to shake her hand before, so that's nice. And then with Leshy, I hate this part because it should be the most fun part of the whole game. You get to go back to the beginning. You're with Leshy. It's just you and him, the same format as it had been at the start, but now he's like, fuck the rules. We're going to keep going until it's over. So it doesn't matter how many points either side gets. You just get to keep going. And that should be so fucking fun. But I'm so bad at it. I don't know why. Every time I get to this part, I do so bad and he kicks my fucking ass. But he's still like, oh, you've bested me. No, I didn't. And it really sucks that I did so fucking shit. This should be the best part, but I'm so annoyed with it every time. You shake his hand, you move on. And then you go to the master. And his, dude, I fucking hate. I hate this part. It goes on far too long. You can just spam cards and just wait for it all to disappear, but it is so damn aggravating if you're trying to actually play it. I hate the magic system in this game so fucking much. I hate it so much. I hate his damn bush face, and I hate his game. You don't get to shake his bitch ass hand. He's actually a fucking insane character. He's like the most like mentally put together of all the characters, you could say. Like, he's not an idiot. He's a very smart man, but he's fucking insane. The shit he did to his underlings, dog, that's crazy. Moving on. Everything is deleted. Inscription is gone. It does not exist anymore. And then we cut to Luke smashing the floppy disk with a fucking hammer. Brother, I don't know if you know this about floppy disks, but if you do this thing with your hands, where you pick it up from either end and you bend really hard, it breaks. It is a very flat plastic, larger surface. Don't know if you know this about hammers, but it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't it's just the worst way he could have gone about breaking it, and it's so infuriating, and it actually pissed me off. I hated it. It was so bad. That is dude, of all the ways you could have broken the floppy disk, that is the worst. Does he even break it? I don't even know if he fucking breaks it, because we don't get to see. We just see him smash it with a hammer a few times. And then eventually we cut to him answering the door to the lady again, who had been bothering him before about the whole thing with the company and the physical copy. And then this happens. So you're fucking dead. And that's the end of Inscription. Genuinely, an amazing game. I This game throws you so many loops. Like, if you really go into this not knowing anything, the first part of the game is so good. It is so good. It's such a fun gameplay loop. And you think, obviously, that's gotta be it, right? Like, nobody would assume anything else was gonna happen. And then you beat it for the first time, and your mind is blown by what comes next. Into the next section that is a completely different atmosphere to the whole system. It's just completely different. It is so incredible. And then the third act goes back to what you knew, but changes it up a little bit in a way that makes it more unique and honestly pretty fun. Even though I hate the energy system, that phase, it is pretty fun. Absolutely incredible game. Indie games are just better. They're just better. Indie games didn't really used to be that much of a thing before. And we had games like Shadow of the Colossus, Jak and Daxter. Like, these were the fucking beasts before. And they were by the biggest companies that were around. And then everything just became about money. And most games don't even come out complete. I just played Revenge of the Savage Planet with Poppy. And I don't know how indie that game is, but it came out really polished on release. That doesn't happen anymore. The only notable bug is at some times around the times you die, not every time, just occasionally, it'll loop the audio for your dropped loot every 3 seconds for so long. You see that guy up there?
Yeah, so that.
What is this robot voice? Please stop.
Is it that bad? What is
It's so
like
annoying. Just and it won't stop.
Yeah, mine does not sound like that.
It's miserable. It will drive you nuts. That's the only bug that I noticed. Everything else worked so great. Like, it was so polished. It was a great game. Indie games are the new AAA, and they're just incredible. They always bring you the most insane experiences. If you find the right ones, obviously, but still, they do so much better than AAA games now, and it's kind of devastating, but it's also really great for indie devs. Like, fuck yeah. Now, on to the secrets. Inscryption has a lot of secrets. Part of those are how you beat the game, so I'm not going to talk about those because I already have, but genuinely, the stuff that is required to beat the game, those are secrets. If you don't catch everything, you're not beating this game. That's what happened to me my first time playing. But there are some other things that are less important, but are really cool. The only thing that I can think of that is not necessary to the game in the first act is the picture frame. I guess there's also the cabinet of puzzles, but that's not really a secret. The picture frame, you could also say it's not really a secret because, I mean, it tells you what to do, but you might not think much of it. I mean, it took me a long time to just realize that, oh, you're supposed to play those cards in that order. And I didn't even figure that out on my own. I watched Markiplier play it. And as you do it, you get some prizes from it. I don't remember what all of them are, but the most notable one, after I think you do it 2 or 3 times, you get an extra candle, which is really nice for as you go along the first act. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter once you get to the boss fights because you'll still end up with just one. As for Act 2, there's a little bit of secrets around the map, like the main map area where you're going from place to place. You can go to these mushrooms and find the mycologist, and if you complete their requests enough times, you'll get a key from them. You can't do anything with that yet. And then up here, there's a little path. It's not too special, but there will be a tentacle that comes out, and if you reach the top of the magic tower, there'll be another tentacle, and when you get both of those, and I think maybe one spawns in the pond, when you get all the tentacles, you get the Kraken. I'd say the biggest secret here is up in Lushy's area. You can meet the wood carver if you go through these trees, and that's really cool, and you get to see her dialogue, and I was waiting for more of her, but she doesn't come until the last part of the game. After the Great Transcendence and everything's being deleted, you do come across her again there. Not that she tells you a lot. I still think she's the biggest mystery in this game, other than Casey. And then in Grimora's lair, also not that big of a hidden secret, is the Bone Lord. How to do that? That's the hard part. You have to get these 2 broken obols and in combat place them next to each other, and that creates your item for sacrifice. You bring that to him and he has you pledge your allegiance to him. Get a couple items and then you get a key from him. Both of these keys you get are not usable until Act 3. In Act 3 on the board, there are secret paths in the corners that you can take. One of them will let you fight the mycologists, which is honestly a really cool fight. And you do have to be very strategic for it. You cannot do it at the beginning. You got to get a good deck. And then the other one obviously lets you meet the Bone Lord. I was terrified because I knew about fighting the mycologist by this point. You don't have to fight him. I was so scared that you had to fight him, but you don't. And what happens is he tells you about the old data, but it could not be recorded, so only Luke and PO3 heard it. So we, as the player, even though we play through Luke's eyes in a way, we don't get to know. And it's a little infuriating in a way, but I think that was the best move. Keeping certain mysteries in games is just, there's something about it. Not everything needs to be answered. Not every question should be answered. It leaves so much up to your imagination. You feed the consumer just enough information to get them going on this, to be able to piece certain things together themselves, to come up with their own conclusion. And I think that's really cool. I think not everything should be answered, because once you answer everything, it's kind of like, well, there's nothing exciting anymore, you know? As far as I know, those are all the secrets. There could be more, but that's pretty much all I know about. So, if you haven't already, go play Inscryption for yourself. And if you haven't already and you got this far in the video, what the fuck is wrong with you? You just spoiled everything. Go play the damn game. Please.
Wow, great video.